All right, picture this. You're riding a custom matte black bicycle through slick, rain-soaked city streets. The neon lights are literally bleeding into the puddles around you. You take a shortcut down a dim alleyway, totally off the grid. And then, a violent swerve, screech of tires, and you accidentally stumble upon something that is going to change your life forever. Welcome to this explainer on an absolutely fascinating new script titled Echoes on the Wire. Today, we're diving deep into the anatomy of this brilliant narrative. We're going to break down how it throws you straight into a high-stakes world, how it builds incredible tension, and ultimately, how it weaves two completely different genres into one totally unforgettable story. Let's get into it. Hey, who's out there? That single, terrifying shout is literally all it takes to shatter the quiet hum of this rainy evening. The script hooks us right away with this intense, rapid-fire sequence. Our protagonist accidentally peers through a heavy steel door that's just slightly ajar in this decayed brick wall. Inside, a huge, abandoned warehouse, under this harsh hanging bulb, three heavily built figures are standing over a lifeless body. One of them is holding a bloody steel pipe. The lead killer turns, his cold eyes locking directly onto our protagonist through that tiny crack in the door, and shouts those words. It's this sudden, gruesome discovery that acts as the explosive, inciting incident for everything that follows. Now, what makes this story so unique is the stylistic framework it's playing in. We are looking at a masterclass in a very specific genre mashup, a head-on collision between a dark thriller and a romance. The script notes actually describe the aesthetic as modern cinematic anime. So think of the breathtaking atmospheric beauty of a Makoto Shinkai film. Gorgeous, hyper-detailed environments, stunning golden hour lighting, but then violently crashing that into the gritty, nail-biting anxiety of a psychological suspense thriller. It's a bold combination, right? You've got the pure adrenaline of a murder witness on the run, layered directly over the delicate, quiet spark of two people meeting completely by chance. So, let's break this down by looking at how the narrative is actually structured, starting with part one, the dark thriller's setup. Our entry point into this world is a 23-year-old engineer named Syed. Now, Syed is out testing this sleek, experimental matte black bicycle. It's rigged with high-tech sensors and, crucially, a really subtle micro-lens camera mounted right on the handlebars. He's completely dialed in, listening to telemetry readouts from his teammate. But when he cuts into that alleyway to dodge the rain, his super high-tech, controlled world literally crashes into a primal, brutal crime scene. Suddenly, he's staring at a bloody steel pipe and ruthless killers. And this is such a great storytelling lesson. When you give a protagonist a highly specific, totally logical skill set, it makes their sudden panic and absolute helplessness in a messy, violent reality that much more compelling to watch. His clean world of data is just instantly tainted by the unpredictable. So this brutal discovery instantly triggers an incredibly tense escape sequence. Syed's flight from the killers is mapped out with split-second precision. Step 1, a violent swerve to avoid a pile of bricks, which unfortunately stops him right next to that warehouse door. Step 2, the gruesome discovery and the immediate, terrifying realization that he has been spotted. He just slams on the pedals. And step 3, that is pure survival instinct. With a motorcycle roaring up behind him, Syed actually fakes out his pursuers. He leans hard into a right turn onto a brightly lit avenue, signals his direction, but then immediately slams the brakes, pulls a sharp 180-degree turn, and dives straight into an overgrown, completely unmapped dirt path in the dark. It's adrenaline-fueled and highly calculated, a perfect reflection of his analytical mind operating under sheer terror. That crazy adrenaline rush brings us to part 2, designing the protagonists. To really understand why this script works so beautifully, we have to look at this visual duality. Great stories are always driven by compelling characters, right? And in a genre mashup like this, the protagonists have to embody those contrasting themes. On one side, we have Syed, who is deeply rooted in technical logic, data, and the gritty thriller aspect of the story. On the other side, we have Sia, who represents warm empathy, emotional depth, and the romance aspect. The story completely thrives on this exact intersection, so let's look at them individually to see how their specific designs fuel the plot. First up, Syed. His lean, athletic build, messy dark hair, and expressions that range from confident determination to exhausted anxiety, they instantly communicate his whole vibe. The script specifically describes him wearing a dark technical hoodie with goggles resting on his forehead. He is, at his core, a logic-driven engineer. When Act 1 descends into utter chaos, Syed's reaction isn't to fight. It's to calculate an escape route. He relies on his prototype bike, his telemetry, and his quick thinking. His entire world is structured and measurable. And that is exactly what makes his eventual collision with the unmeasurable feeling of romance and, the chaotic unpredictability of a murder plot so incredibly jarring for him. Now, contrasting perfectly with that dark, tech-focused world, we have Sia. Her design just radiates warmth. She's a 23-year-old writer noted for being deeply creative, empathetic, and observant. All her visual cues, the warm smile, the thoughtful gazes, her signature beige coat, the journal she always keeps close, and her love for loose-leaf tea, they all come together to create this profound sense of safety and calm. She is quite literally the anchor in the storm. So when Syed stumbles out of the terrifying darkness of that unmapped trail, he stumbles directly into Sia's world. Her design is intentionally soft and grounding, providing the ultimate contrast to the brutal killers Sia just fled from. Which leads us beautifully into part 3, the romance intersect. Suddenly, we are out of the rain and the neon. Syed emerges from the dark dirt path into this forgotten, quiet neighborhood lane lined with old wooden houses. His phone has absolutely no GPS signal here. He is completely disconnected from his digital world. Just look at how dramatically the elements shift here. We go from an experimental bike, a brutal murder, and the anxiety of erased footage straight into gorgeous golden hour light, a quiet cottage, and the unfamiliar spark of connection. This is the sheer mastery of the genre mashup. It allows the audience to catch their breath right alongside Syed. The tension doesn't just disappear, it transforms. The script uses the peaceful introduction of Sia to highlight just how incredibly dark and dangerous Syed's secret really is. "Oh, you ended up pretty far off the grid." This is what Shia tells him when he pulls up, panting and totally lost. Her voice is just quiet and melodic. She gives him simple directions to find his way back to the highway. But the script notes something incredibly vital here. As she speaks, the world around Syed actually mutes. The thunder fades away. A sharp, completely unfamiliar spark hits his chest, a feeling entirely foreign to his logic-driven mind. She isn't just giving him physical directions. She is completely disrupting his rigid, analytical way of thinking, with just a gentle smile and her quiet depth. But as we know, a quiet moment in a thriller is never just a quiet moment, is it? It's the calm before the storm. Welcome to Part 4, the impending collision. Great stories always rely on the collision of opposites, and Act 3 brings the dark, violent thriller world and the quiet, emotional romance world crashing directly into each other. The catalyst for this massive collision? A single file, test run log 094 MP4. Syed is back in his room, lit only by the cold blue glare of his monitors, while the rain pours outside. He pulls the micro SD card from his bike's camera. Remember that high-tech micro lens we mentioned earlier? Well, it has high-definition optical zoom. It recorded absolutely everything. The video file shows the crime, but even worse, it shows the lead killer staring directly into the lens. Syed is trapped in a terrifying dilemma. He possesses undeniable evidence of a murder, but he knows if he goes to the police, the killers are going to recognize his unique custom bike. They will hunt him down. Out of sheer fear, he hovers over the delete button, but ultimately closes the laptop, telling no one. It's the ultimate do not press button, but with literal life or death consequences. The burden of this secret is just immense. Completely unable to process this trauma through logic, Syed is drawn back to the one and only place he felt safe. This timeline tracks his escalating, almost irrational actions the very next day. First, he drives to her narrow lane and drops a map pin on his phone simply labeled her house. He sits in his car silently admitting to himself that as an engineer who solves problems with data, he has absolutely no plan here. He just needed to see if she was real. Later that evening, bathed in that golden hour light again, he finally approaches Saya as she walks home with groceries to properly thank her. But just as they share this quiet, sparking moment of connection, step 4 hits. The dark SUV arrives. In these final, incredibly tense moments, the thriller elements physically invade the romance setting. Syed approaches, rubbing his neck nervously, and thanks Sia. Sia smiles, but remember, she's observant. She notes it's a bit strange seeing him back in this quiet neighborhood twice in 2 days. And right in that beautiful, vulnerable moment, before Syed can even answer, a dark SUV with heavily tinted windows slowly crawls down the narrow alleyway. Its headlights suddenly switch on, casting these long, menacing shadows across both Syed and Sia. The violence he tried so hard to leave behind in the city has tracked him straight to her quiet cottage. The two genres have officially collided. And incredibly, that is exactly where Part 1 leaves us. The script ends on this incredibly tense standoff. It forces us to ask the ultimate question. Can a logic-driven mind survive when the thriller finally catches up to the romance? Can Syed protect the sanctuary he just found, or has his attempt to seek comfort just endangered Sia's life as well? It's a brilliantly provocative cliffhanger that perfectly summarizes the narrative stakes. It takes a beautiful character interaction and instantly frames it in mortal danger, leaving you absolutely desperate to know what happens in part 2. And honestly, that is the true power of a perfectly executed genre.